Today's lesson is on finding the surface area and volume of spheres. So for this section of our chapter, the only figure we'll find surface area on is the spheres. Okay, your next quiz will be on volume of all the three-dimensional figures, but also surface area of a sphere. So we know what a sphere is. It's like a ball, basketball, soccer ball. The technical definition is right here. It's a set of all points in space equidistant from a point, and that would be called the center. Okay, so the formula is a pretty easy formula, but it's kind of difficult to see, well, why is it like that? Why is the surface area of a sphere 4 times pi times radius squared? So I'm not going to explain it in this video, but there's an excellent video on YouTube that I strongly recommend that you listen to, and here's the link right here. You could just click on that and or copy and paste it and put it in your browser. It's not exactly accurate, okay, but it gives a good demonstration of where the 4 in the 4 pi r squared comes from. Because we know pi r squared is the formula for the area of what? A circle, right. Pi r squared is the area of a circle. So basically what this formula for surface area sphere is saying, take 4 of those. So do watch the video so you can get an idea on why it is 4 pi r squared. Okay, so we're going to run through a couple of problems. Get my pen here. Okay, there it is. And all we need to do is plug this into our calculator, but you're going to show me your work. You're going to say surface area equals 4 times pi times radius squared. And we've discussed this before. Usually what I do is I deal with my numbers. We know 5 squared is 25, and 25 times 4 is 100. So in terms of pi, our answer is 100 pi, but we're going to put that in our calculator, but you know how to multiply by a multiple of 10. Pi is 3.14, and 100 times pi just means that we move our decimal point 2 places to the right. So our surface area for a sphere with a 5-foot radius is 304 feet squared. Remember, anytime you're finding area, the unit of measure is always squared. So you can do number 4 on your own, but what's different about number 5? Let's work on number 5. You have to see what information you're given. And 12 inches represents what? The diameter. Okay, so we know the diameter is 12 inches. The diameter goes all the way across the circle through the middle. But our formula for surface area doesn't have diameter in it. It has the radius. And how do we go from diameter to radius? We just divide the diameter by 2. So if the diameter is 12 inches, the radius is 6 inches. And now we're ready to find our surface area. So surface area equals 4 times pi times 6 squared. Okay. Excuse me, 4 times pi times 36. And then let's take out the calculator. And whoops. We're going to say, what is 4 times 36? Okay, if you wanted to have your answer in terms of pi, so that's 144 pi. Okay, you don't have to write that down, but I just like to do that. And then we'll say 144. And we have to hit our pi button. Second caret. Okay. Again, I like to leave the pi out of the problem until the end. But since this is all multiplication, it almost doesn't matter. So you'll be asked to round your answer to the nearest whole number. So 452.3 just rounds to 452. And again, that's inches squared since it's surface area. Okay, here's your formula for the volume of a sphere. And there's also a video. This one's a little bit more sophisticated, but it explains how 4/3 pi r cubed came to be. So if you want to watch that one, I think that would be a good idea as well. Excuse me. Now what's a little bit tricky about this is how you put the numbers in the calculator. So you know with a fraction, you typically have to use parentheses. So we're just going to be careful about this. All right, you've got the formula, you have everything you need. All you need to know is the radius, and then you can find your volume. So let's try these. Okay, so number 6. Let me move this up a little bit. We're going to say 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. Here's your radius, and that's what belongs there. Okay, I'll show you 2 different ways to put it in the calculator, and you can decide that. First of all, you have to figure out what 4 cubed is, and I would just go ahead and put that in your calc. We know we can say 4, raise it to the power of 3. Okay, and we get 64. So now we have 4/3 pi times r cubed. This whole expression can go in your calculator all at once. You just need to be careful. So if we're going to use that fraction like it is part of the formula, then we know we need to put parentheses around the fraction. Parentheses, 4 divided by 3. And you have to close your parentheses. Then you have your pi button. Okay, and then times. And here you could have put 4 cubed in. You didn't really have to figure out what 4 cubed is, but we did. And then enter. So we have 268.08. So rounded to the nearest whole number, that would be 268. And remember, when we're finding volume, the unit of measure is always cubed. That's for volume. Okay, let's try this next one. Volume equals 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. Now this time I'll show you a different way to put it in the calculator, and you can do either way. First, you probably already know that 2 cubed is 8. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, but this is another way that you can put it in your calculator. You can say 4 pi 2 cubed, and then hit enter. But what do you have to do to that number? What haven't we done in the formula yet? We haven't divided it by 3, so now you have to divide the answer by 3. And there's your answer, 33.51. So rounded to the nearest whole number, that would be 34. So your volume is equal to 34 millimeters cubed. Now I don't think we need to do this next one, number 8. But what's different about it? You're given what information? You're given the diameter, but that is not in the formula. So you need to do what to that diameter? Divide it by 2. So what's our radius? 7 centimeters. And I think you can go through that problem on your own. What is that? It's not a sphere, is it? It's called a hemisphere. What's a hemisphere? Half of a sphere. So what we can choose to do is just use our volume formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. Then, because it's a half of a sphere, what do we have to do to that answer? We have to divide it by 2. So let's go ahead and try this. Okay, so we're going to say 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. And then once we get that answer, we're going to cut it in half because it's a hemisphere. Let's clear this out. So again, I can put this in a couple different ways. If you want to just use the fraction, be sure you use your parentheses, 4 divided by 3, and then your pi button times pi, and then times 6 raised to the 3rd power. That's going to give you the volume of a sphere with a radius of 6 inches. But this is not a sphere. This is a hemisphere, so we have to divide it by 2. And then we get our answer, 452.3. So rounded to the nearest whole number, 452. And that's inches cubed. If I asked you to find the surface area of this, and let's go back to that. Surface area, remember, equals 4 pi r squared. For a hemisphere, what do we have to do to that? We have to cut it in half. Okay, so let me put that division sign in there. I forgot to put the division sign in, didn't I? Divide by 2. Okay, so a couple different ways you can do this, but we'll just stick with this. We're going to say 4 times pi times 6 squared, and then we'll take that answer and divide it, divide it by 2. That's not too pretty, is it? This is a division sign. Okay, so let's pull up the calculator. Okay, 4 times pi times 6 squared. We'll get our answer. And then we will divide by 2 because it's a hemisphere. So 226.1 rounds to the nearest whole number as 226. So for this hemisphere, the surface area is 226. Now this is area, so it's inches squared. And that is the end of this lesson. What happened?